And in Revelation chapter 6, the ride of the fourth horseman includes mention of deadly plague. So the events unfolding around us are making clearer than ever
Put 'em on.
that we're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
Yes, Jehovah's Witnesses will never recognize the true face of Watchtower.
And for those of you that didn't know what that was about, many of us in the XJW community know about the movie They Live with Roddy Piper. And it fits Watchtower so much and many other cults because you can't really see what they're really like until you get those blinders off or get special glasses to see what they really are.
And in this video, we're going to be looking at a study article that they're going to be studying sometime in June, right? And the title of it is Modestly Accept What You Do Not Know. Now, we've gone over this article, made a lot of notes, and basically this is an attempt from Watchtower to get away from being identified as false prophets, okay? So let me read Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 20. Most of us XJWs will readily recognize what this says. However, the prophet that presumes to speak in my name a word that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet must die. And in case you should hear in your heart, how shall we know the word that Jehovah has not spoken? When that prophet speaks in the name of Jehovah and the word does not occur or come true, that is the word that Jehovah did not speak. And unfortunately, most Jehovah's Witnesses that are going to be going over this title don't have a clue what they said back in the late 60s regarding the end of this generation. So I guess...
Would you like to hear some of the prophecies they made back then?
Sure.
Discourse, a public discourse given in Kismet Temple in Brooklyn, New York. But he said, if you die after 1925, it'll be your own fault. And so all kinds of predictions were made regarding that year. And, well, I recall at a table discussion after the year had passed, and the matter came up for talking about discussing at the Bethel table. Well, Brother Rutherford made this statement with regard to 1925. He said, I made an ass of myself. That's the way he felt about it.
You guys are going to love this. October 8th, 1966, Awake. Page 18. I forgot to get the name of the title. It was like, when are these things going to occur, or whatever. It was just, they had so many of those articles when we were kids growing up. And I just want to cover a few things that was said. This is what we were told. This is what we were promised. Page 18, first column, last paragraph. All the other features of the sign Jesus gave also have found fulfillment since 1914. For a certainty then, 1914 marked the beginning of the last days. And this new article that just came out, and this is in the June 2025, the one that got us all riled, they're talking about this very thing, about, oh, we know it's 1914, but yeah, I digress. Subheading on the next column, when? this generation, exclamation point. So it was to our generation that Jesus referred when he added the key thought, this generation will by no means pass away until these things occur. The generation that saw the beginning of woes in 1914 would also see the end of Satan and his entire wicked system of things. Some who were alive then would be alive when the end comes. Now, doesn't that sound like a prophecy, a promise? Next paragraph, last paragraph on the page. It is to be carefully noted that the youngest of those who saw with understanding the developing sign of the end of this system of things from its start in 1914 are now well over 60 years of age. No, this was about 59 years ago. Yeah, I was a kid. I was 3 years old when this article came out. In fact, the greater part of the adult generation that experienced the start of the last days has already passed away in death. The generation to which they belong is now well along towards its complete passing away. They are right about that. The time left then is definitely limited, and it is very short. Note, too, that Jesus pointedly said this generation will by no means, italicized. So we should not look for the passing away of all members of that generation. The end of this wicked system of things will come before all members could pass away. That is in their literature. That is what they printed.
That's a statement.
That's a statement.
That's a statement.
Yeah. 6,000 years completed in 1975. Then they go through the time chronology that they used back then, how the end of man's existence of 6,000 years was going to be in 1975. And they even reference the book Life Everlasting and Freedom of the Sons of God. And when you look at that book and look at their chronology, the last thing at the bottom is 1975, and then they happen to have 2075, which would be the end of the 1,000 years. And this is how they look at that, it is a pattern of what the ancient Israelites had, that there would work 6 days and then there would be a day of rest. Well, Jehovah's been in that day of rest, and for the past, since 1975, and then, wouldn't it be great if that's when it would come? It means that within relatively few years, we will witness the fulfillment of the remaining prophecies that have to do with the time of the end. Jesus noted, this is the second column, first paragraph. Jesus noted that knowledge of this was in the province of his heavenly Father alone. So basically, we don't know for sure, but when a brief period of years at the most separates us from the great windup of this old system, the vital thing is to stay spiritually awake. So how much longer will it be? The answer is not long, for the end of wickedness is near. Not much longer will Jehovah God tolerate the wicked system of things.
Jehovah's organization is training all the elders on the planet to get their friends ready for the Great Tribulation. That was a note I made from our last elder school. And they're trying to get their friends ready right now for the Great Tribulation. So we're going to consider some things, 7 areas that we can improve upon. And we're going to ask, what's our habit? What do we normally do? And so here's the problem with that. Sometimes we're not honest with ourselves. We think I'm doing okay. I wonder what Jehovah sees. You see? And as we go through these, ask yourself that honestly. I know you may be thinking, I'm fine. But what does Jehovah see? First area, trust Jehovah and his organization. That direction comes from the governing body, the faithful slave, and the elders. Follow directions. Be obedient to Jehovah's channel. They give directions often.
Do you see why I am so angry? Why a lot of us are angry of the 1975 screwed generation? Because we were lied to. Lied. October 8th, 1968, Awake. What will the 1970s bring? And the front of the Awake is 1970s. Is it later than you think? So it was like, oh my goodness, exclamation point. Page 13, second paragraph. Same thing. These things will not, this generation will by no means pass away until these things occur. Jesus was obviously speaking about those who were old enough to witness with understanding what took place when the last days began. Jesus was saying that some of those persons who were alive at the appearance of the sign of the last days, which they believe is 1914, would still be alive when God brought this system to the end. Even if we presume that youngsters 15 years of age would be perceptive enough to realize the import of what happened in 1914, it would still make the youngest of this generation nearly 70 years old. And this is 1968.
You know what's conspicuously missing? The overlapping generation of friends. You see the bullshit that these people have written? But yet Jehovah's Witnesses will never put the glasses on to see the true face.
Yeah, to see what is really going on.
To see what's really going on behind the scenes.
Then they go into that 6,000 years chronology again. And then they bring it down to the autumn of 1968. This would leave only 7 more years from the autumn of 1968 to complete 6,000 full years of human history. That 7-year period will evidently finish in the autumn of the year 1975. Does this mean that the above evidence positively points to 1975 as a time for the complete end of the system of things? Since the Bible does not specifically state this, no man can say. But isn't that exactly what they were telling us?
The problem is that's still tied into the generation that was old enough to see and understand with reasoning ability the time period that began in 1914. Now, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What's the difference between a con artist and an entrepreneur?
Well, I know what a con artist is, and I know what an entrepreneur is, like a business person.
Yeah. A con artist doesn't believe what he's telling you because he's conning you.
True.
But the entrepreneur, the Jehovah Witness, will surrender their lives while refusing blood fractions. The entrepreneur literally believes what he's being told, even coming from the mouth of the con artist who doesn't believe it. And how do we know that they don't believe it? The article. Modestly accept what we do not know. Okay. As Kim was reading, the setup was Watchtower made very specific statements that leads everybody to believe that they know for a fact that generation will not pass away. And it's interesting to note as we go through this article, that's one thing that's missing out of this article.
Well, there was a lot more in, the statements I read. There was one in the early 70s that said that the kids, talking to us kids at that time, that we would not grow old and get married in this system.
Right. It's all part of the con. It's all part of their con.
And that was a really good definition between the two, because that means the high-ups at Watchtower and the governing body are the con artists.
Right, they're the con artists.
But it's the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses that are the entrepreneurs and think they actually believe they're saving the world.
And they actually believe what the con artist is telling them. So we're going to start right here. Modestly accept what we do not know, and this was the June study article 2025, right?
And this is study article number 26.
And it's interesting to note they start out with song number 123, loyally submitting to theocratic order. Okay? First paragraph. Now think about this, Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah created us with the ability to think, to take in knowledge, to develop understanding, and to display wisdom. Why did he make us this way? He wants us to find the knowledge of God and to serve him with our power of reason. But the problem is, Watchtower, independent thinking is satanic. So why would your God Jehovah create you with the ability to use your brain and then have these con artists come along and say, well, you know, independent thinking is what Satan did, and that's why so stop thinking. Do you see the contradiction that the con artist presents? No, they don't, because they refuse to put these on. They refuse to look. I guarantee you 99% of the indoctrinated JWs going through this, at the end of the meeting, they're going to go, oh, thank you, Jehovah, for such a great article. Let's go have some lunch.
Yeah.
But see, this is, look, he created you with the ability to think. He wants us to find the knowledge of God and to serve him with our power of reason. Is it reasonable to continue to follow these men since that generation is long dead and gone? But see, you can't think for yourself because that's satanic. See? All right, the next paragraph, you want to read paragraph 2?
The whole paragraph?
Well, you've got some stuff highlighted here, about midway down.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go about halfway down. We too benefit when we modestly recognize that we do not know everything. Such modesty moves us to trust that Jehovah will reveal to us what we really need to know so that we can make wise choices.
But didn't he tell you what you really needed to know about that generation? Didn't he really tell you that? Apparently not.
Well, the first sentence of paragraph 3 is, in this article, we will discuss some things that we do not know and the challenges we may face as a result. Really? They're admitting that they have lied to us. They're admitting that they have been wrong. And like I read in some of those old magazines.
They were dogmatic with that thought process.
Yeah.
In fact, if you questioned it, you were kicked out of the organization and labeled as an apostate.
Yeah. Discussing these points will strengthen our confidence that Jehovah, the one perfect in knowledge, tells us what we really need to know. You know what? I really needed to know when I was a teenager that I should have gotten an education and not wasted my time pioneering and expecting Armageddon any minute, because now I'm angry that I was lied to, and now they're like, oh, oops, yeah, we need to modestly admit what we do not know.
And the thing is when the con artist is caught, he'll never make recompense for it.
Yeah. Page 15, the subheading, we do not know when the end will come.
But wait a minute, you said it was that generation in 1914. We just read the articles in 1968. But yet Jehovah's Witnesses are going to go, oh, we thank you, Jehovah. Put your glasses on, Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses.
So you can see their real faces.
See, the thing is you know what they're going to miss in this article? Their true means to escape.
Their freedom.
Because they're admitting we do not know when the end will come. They were wrong about that 1914 generation, just like they were wrong about the blood fractions. Now you Jehovah's Witnesses can say a greeting to someone who's been disfellowshipped that they come to the meeting. So they must have been wrong about that when they stated, don't even say a greeting. How many more things are they going to be wrong about before you Jehovah's Witnesses will finally put your glasses on and head out the door?
Well, I would like to play a clip here of Loesch. Remember what Loesch said?
Oh yeah, Yeah.
Whereas Jesus' teachings and the written word of God are inspired, the faithful and discreet slave is not inspired, although it champions the truth. Nevertheless, the faithful slave provides spiritual food, whereas in the first century there was supernatural knowledge available for apostles and Bible writers. In the time of the end, Jehovah does not bestow this miraculous gift anymore, as explained at 1 Corinthians 13:8. Although there is no divine inspiration today, still Jesus leads his people progressively through the services of the faithful slave. Jesus trusts that the imperfect faithful slave will do its best to convey spiritual food. Do you also trust the slave? Whereas the truth of God's word does not change, our understanding of the truth does change because we are not perfect yet. We understand more about the truth today than Christians in the first century. Do we keep up with the progressive understanding of truth? Daniel was told, "Many will rove about, and the true knowledge will become abundant." This is a gradual process. We are still roving about.
They're not inspired, and they're still roving about. So if they're still roving about, why should you listen to them?
Why should you listen when they admit it themselves?
So paragraph 4, read Matthew 24:36. We do not know when the end of this system of things will come. Even Jesus, while on earth, did not know the day and hour. But you were pretty sure back in the 60s and 70s, saying how short it was, and definitely that generation was dying off.
Well, look at what they also write in that paragraph 4. Jehovah has scheduled the time for the end of this system, but we are not in a position to figure out precisely when that will be. That's right, you can't figure it out because you put all your eggs in the basket of the generation of 1914.
Well, there's, remember several, Freddie Franz and that CO or Dio Sinuku. He said, stay alive till 75.
Right.
As one brother put it, stay alive to 75.
So Jehovah's word is in your mouth. This good news must be preached first, before Armageddon. Will be now a remaining few months. Not really a full 83 months remains. So let's be faithful and confident, and we'll be alive beyond the war of Babylon.
Because they precisely knew it was going to be in the fall. Freddie Franz said it was going to be in the fall of 1975. Crazy, crazy. You know what? This is a sure sign of a cult.
And con artists.
Yeah. Paragraph 5, the first sentence says, in view of what Jesus said, we do not know how long we will have to wait until the end comes. We waited our entire lives.
Well, we waited for that generation in 1914 to fully expire. And they have.
Yeah. As a result, we might become impatient or discouraged, especially if we have already been waiting for some time for Jehovah's Day, or we wake up.
The con artists just keep saying, just a little while longer.
Yeah.
Just a little while longer.
Well, like you heard at the beginning, let
Yeah.
the final part of the last nanosecond of the last days.
Because Jesus said in the time of the end there would be pestilence. That pestilence is come and gone.
Well,
You're still here, Jehovah's.
look how many Jehovah's Witnesses actually thought
Oh, I know.
that was the beginning of the Great Tribulation. Even some XJWs went back
Yeah.
to the organization
Unbelievable.
because they thought it was going to be Armageddon.
Yeah.
Sentence here. Or we might find it hard to endure ridicule for family members or others. You know why they have the evidence to ridicule you
Right.
like us? Because we told them what you told us.
That's right.
If my mom would talk to me, guess what? I can tell her. Because of what you told me, that woke me up. Because
Right.
now I can ridicule Watchtower and the governing body's stupid, idiotic statements they made at that time.
Well, you know, the problem is, Kim, you just can't fix stupid. Okay.
All the duct tape in the world can't fix stupid.
Nope. Okay. I found this interesting. Paragraph 7. Okay. So I'm going to start reading it. And then you tell me, if you're an ex-Jehovah Witness or even a current Jehovah Witness, you tell me what's missing from this statement in light of what we have been saying and in light of what Kim read earlier in this video. Paragraph 7. We do well to focus on what we do know, that the last days began in 1914. Period. Jehovah has provided Bible prophecies that not only pinpoint that year, but also describe in detail the conditions that have prevailed since then. As a result, we are convinced that the great day of Jehovah is near. We also know the work that Jehovah wants us to do, namely to tell as many as possible about the good news of the kingdom. This message is being declared in some 240 lands and in more than 1,000 languages. We do not need to know the day and hour in order to have a zealous share in this vital work. Did you notice what was missing? Let me interject. We do well to focus on what we do know, that the last days began in 1914. And that generation in 1914 that saw the beginning and was at least 15 years of age, had knowledge and understanding of the world events, would still be here when Jesus killed everybody. Except for Jehovah's. Do you see what's conveniently missing? That's why I said in the beginning of this article is making an attempt of getting the Watchtower Bible Craft Society away from being called false prophets.
Too late.
Otherwise, they would have interjected everything they said in the 60s about that generation in 1914. But they didn't. How convenient.
Are they going to be getting away from that 1914 generation pushing that?
Well, they don't have a choice, because it ain't going to be too much longer before those lives overlap with Freddie Franz are going to be dead and gone also.
All right, page 16, paragraph 8, the subheading, we do not know how Jehovah may act. We do not always know the work of the true God. Read Ecclesiastes 11:5. That expression refers to what Jehovah causes to happen or what he allows to happen in order to accomplish his will. We cannot know for certain why Jehovah might permit something to occur or exactly how he will act in our behalf.
I do.
Such knowledge is as unfathomable to us as the development of a child in a pregnant woman's womb, something that scientists still do not fully understand.
Wow.
What?
Ludicrous,
What?
isn't it? Okay, now I find it interesting that they make a statement here that we do not always know the work of the true God. See, and then they want you to read Ecclesiastes 11:5. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read Isaiah 44:25. And isn't it funny that most Christians and Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing con artists, don't read this to anybody?
Well, because they don't want you to wake up.
That's right, Isaiah 44:25. I am frustrating the sign of the empty talkers, and I am the one that makes diviners themselves act crazily, the one turning wise men backwards, and the one that turns even their knowledge of 1914 into foolishness. It just doesn't end there, Jehovah's Witnesses. How about Ezekiel 14:9? And as for the prophet, in case he gets fooled about 1914 and actually speaks a word, I myself, Jehovah, have fooled that prophet into believing that that generation in 1914 will not pass away until all these things occur, including the start of the Great Tribulation. And I will stretch out my hand against him and annihilate him from the midst of all Jehovah's Witnesses and all those looking on. And they will have to bear their error, the error of con men. The error of the inquirer will prove to be just as the same as the error of the prophet. Jehovah is making you people foolish. They'll never see it. They'll never put the glasses on.
Well, you notice that paragraph where it says you may have to endure
Yeah, ridicule.
ridicule.
Yeah.
Well, the reason you're getting ridiculed is because of the crap you said in the past and promised us.
Yep. They'll never see it, Kim.
Paragraph 9. Our not knowing how Jehovah will act in our behalf could cause us to become indecisive. We might hesitate to make sacrifices to expand our ministry, such as simplifying our life or moving to where there's a greater need for kingdom publishers.
But
Or we
that's,
may wonder if we have God's approval.
but that's the deflection. I read 2 scriptures saying that Jehovah is fooling you.
Paragraph 10. Our not knowing how Jehovah will act actually helps us to develop such essential qualities as humility and modesty. We come to recognize that Jehovah's thoughts and ways are higher than ours.
That's right, because I'm a good-for-nothing slave. I can't even qualify myself as an entrepreneur anymore. I don't know what to believe because that generation is dead and gone. I'm just lost because I've actually let the blind lead the blind, and we all fell into the trap. We all fell into the deep, dark hole.
Paragraph 10, the last sentence. We do our part and we continue to trust that Jehovah will do his part. We are confident that he will provide us with the direction we need, even if not in the same miraculously way that he sometimes did in the past.
Yikes. But he gave you direction within that 1914 generation. He gave it to you. The proof is in the articles that we read earlier. You have your proof.
Well, he's failed too, because he hasn't given them direction on how to protect the kids
Well,
from
that's-
CSA.
Exactly.
Paragraph 14, page 17. When we endure difficulties, we are able to prove that no matter what happens, we serve our Heavenly Father out of love, not out of selfishness. Most Jehovah's Witnesses are preaching only because they want to save their own backside.
Well, it's all because they believe them as entrepreneurs. Paragraph 15. While we do not know what each new day will bring, we do know that Jehovah has promised us everlasting life, whether in heaven or on earth. We know that he cannot lie and that nothing can prevent him from fulfilling all promises. Wait a minute. Hold that for a minute. Let me go to 2 Chronicles chapter 18.
You just dropped all your notes.
2 Chronicles 18. What paragraphs do I need, Kim?
21 to 22.
21 to 22. Oh, this is the case of Ahab, the Arab. All right, we'll start at verse 18. And he went on to say, therefore hear the word of Jehovah. I certainly see Jehovah sitting upon his throne, and all the army of the heavens standing at his right and his left. And Jehovah proceeded to say, who will fool the Watchtower Bible, King Ahab, the king of Israel, that he may go up to Ramoth Gilead? And there was talk. This one saying something like this, and the one saying something like that. Finally, a spirit came out and stood before Jehovah and said, I myself shall fool him. At that Jehovah said to him, by what means? To this, he said, speaking of the spirit, I shall go forth and certainly become a deceptive spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. So he said, you will fool him. And what is more, you will come off the winner. Go out and do that way. And now, here Jehovah has put a deceptive spirit in the mouth of these prophets of yours.
The governing body?
Well, the thing is, Jehovah blessed a lie. Jehovah blessed the deceptive spirit. How contradictory that is when you read in the book of Proverbs, I think it is, there are 7 things that are detestable to Jehovah. A false tongue, a lying tongue, and yet your God Jehovah blessed it. Jehovah's Witnesses, for the love of all that's holy, put your glasses on. Because the Bible, in this article alone, once again, is giving you your means of an escape without any results if you know how to word it and walk away from it. Because they themselves have admitted they do not know. And how do you, Jehovah's Witnesses, know that your God Jehovah is not allowing a deceptive spirit? Oh, wait a minute. We have proof that there's a deceptive spirit. That generation's dead and gone. We have proof that they were wrong and they're admitting it, but yet you still will not look at the true face of Watchtower.
Well, like I keep saying, us of the 1975 screw generation, we're dying off too.
Well, look at us. Where's our bank account to retire on? Where's our Rolex watches? Where's our $10,000 suits for being stupid enough to be an entrepreneur and not recognize the con that was being run?
Yep, the Ponzi scheme.
The Ponzi scheme, exactly.
Page 18, paragraph 16, the subheading, we cannot fully comprehend how well Jehovah knows us.
How can you fully comprehend that Jehovah is fooling you? How can you not fully comprehend after what I just read that Jehovah did not send a deceptive spirit into the mouth of these governing bodies or this organization or even the Bible?
Did you eat all your M&Ms?
Yes.
Oy vey. Paragraph 17. Perhaps because of our family background, our culture, or our previous beliefs, it may be difficult for us to see Jehovah as a loving Father who is interested in us. Yeah, because most of us have been abused by our fathers and the elders in the congregation. And in fact, Mike's note here, it says, tell that to all the people abused by elders.
That's right. But I have a very serious thought here. Perhaps because of our family background or culture, you took all that away, Watchtower. You took all of our cultures away. When my mom and dad started studying the Bible with you Jehovah's Witnesses in 1972, the family culture of celebrating Christmas was taken away from the rest of the family. You took that away, promising that the generation of 1914 ain't going to be on this earth much longer, and we won't even think about the things that we've lost. But here we are.
You know, and Watchtower claims that they don't destroy families.
Yeah, right.
Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses, like my mom, she told me that I destroyed the family because I left. So leaving apparently destroys the family. Well, if Jehovah is such a loving God and was interested in his own Jehovah's Witnesses, why would he destroy their families?
They'll never see it. They'll never wear the glasses.
The last paragraph, thank God. Paragraph 20. Jehovah has not deprived us of any information that we really need to have. When we modestly accept that fact, we avoid undue anxiety over what we cannot control, and we can focus on what really matters. In doing so, we demonstrate that our full trust is in Jehovah.
Why would you trust a God that even in this Bible of yours says that he allowed a deceptive spirit to operate in the prophets of Ahab. And not only that, he guaranteed the success of that deception. Your God, Jehovah, loves to deceive people.
Well, the thing is if he gives his people everything they need to know, then what about all of us that grew up in it, like I said, with no higher education, but yet most of the elders and all, circuit overseers and all of them, they left when they were like teenagers, went and made their fortunes, lived their life, and then come back when they're old.
Yeah, well, don't you think it would have been nice if Jehovah God, the God of the universe, would have informed us that we were in a go-nowhere false prophet organization? How about even how to identify a cult, okay? It would have been nice to know that Jehovah was going to flip-flop on the blood fractions. Do you know how many young kids died because they refused even blood fractions? Watchtower did a whole article holding up all those young kids that surrendered their lives while even just refusing blood and life-saving medical treatment. Don't you think that Jehovah should have at least let us know that? No. Instead, we believe the con artists like good little entrepreneurs.
Well, the thing is so and I grew up with, we lived across the street from one another. Both JWs grew up in this organization. Well, several years ago, her dad got hurt in one of those quad accidents, and even fractions would have saved his life.
Yeah.
And she called me crying and sobbing, and she says, where is it that they say they can have blood fractions? She says, I want to tell the doctors that he can have fractions that will save his life because he had bleeding in the brain. I sent her the information. You know what happened? Her JW mom and the elders in the HLC, the Hospital Liaison Committee, said, no, that's not true, kicked her out and locked the door and told her to leave or they were going to call the police. So don't you think Jehovah would have let his people know that they could have fractions?
How's that not murder?
It is. They're blood guilty.
How's that not blood guilty?
Yeah. So you elders in Prescott, Arizona, you're blood guilty.
So what's even funny, even if they do put the glasses on, there's no guarantee that they're ever going to still see it, because that article on blood fractions came right from the Watchtower Babel Crap Society, and they still let that man die. Refusing. See, even Jehovah's Witnesses, even the elders, don't read all this stuff. And yet they're supposed to be keeping up with Jehovah's Celestial Church. Do you see how easy it is to do stuff like this?
Well, I was going to say, it's really easy because it's in the 2006 Kingdom Ministry. I don't
Yeah.
remember what month, but, I sent it to her. And it's right there that it was a conscious matter. And she tried to show them.
They wouldn't look at it.
And they threatened her and threatened to call the police. Ugh, crazy. This is how nasty they are getting.
Well, you just can't fix stupid.
No.
You literally can't fix this.
We try our best to help, but you just cannot fix this level of stupidity and con.
No.
It's a huge con.
And they don't, and it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses, it's the whole Christianity theology, because you talk to a Christian person who's talking about how bad the illegal immigration and crime is in this country right now, and it's greater in cities and things like that. And they're decrying how wrong this is. This shouldn't be allowed. But yet those same Christians are clapping when you read the book of Judges that they went through the promised land and annihilated whole groups of people. It's the same thing. You're pissing and moaning about the very things that one political party has allowed for the past 4 years, but yet you praise what your God has done in the Bible by wiping out whole groups of people. They'll never see that the whole book itself is a con.
Yeah.
Never see it.
Thank you for listening to our rant. This is why it's so difficult for us to read these articles anymore, because it's so easy to see. Because you know what? We see them for what they are. So you all have a great week. We love you.